I had the pleasure of talking with ALS this afternoon, or this morning. It's just this morning, and was talking to them. There's two things as I agonized over this speech. One was going to be how quickly I could get off stage, because I know y'all just want to get on about your celebration. Let's be real. And the second thing was that they have bets on how long it would take me to cry. So apparently it's negative 0.2 seconds. You know, I have a big heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to my airmen and my family. Oh my God. I don't make excuses for it, and I certainly will not apologize for it, because this is who I am, and I think sometimes we need vulnerable leaders out there. And so with that, because I am so excited about being here, I do have my note cards, and they have their rubric, so they will be judging me the entire evening. I have spent 6 years on this campus, and this is by far my favorite celebration, is coming in here, being able to talk to the airmen, seeing their leadership and their families, see this milestone and everything that goes on about it. And I know next week you won't even remember my name. You'll be like, there was this lady, and she cried, and it was really awkward, and she told us this stuff. But I do have a story. It's not my story. It's actually somebody else's story, but I think it's very applicable to what you're going to be doing as you leave here tomorrow. Tomorrow. Did you all get that? Tomorrow, right? It's Colonel James McGhee, and it was his experience when he was at the Air Force Academy, and this was in the 70s, so stick with me. It's still relevant, right? There was a gentleman that worked there, and his name was Mr. Bill Crawford, and he was the janitor. And while he was there, he would do his job, shuffling around, taking care of the 100 or so cadets that were in the dormitory. And every once in a while, a cadet would rush by, good morning, and he would, and go on about his business, much like that you would see. It wasn't a real relationship. He was super shy, but he did his job. He did what he was there to do. Well, then Cadet McGhee was studying with his roommate one day, and this was about the late 1976. And they're reading stories about the World War II battles and the Allied forces over Italy, and they came across this story. And this story was of the 36th Infantry, talking about taking Hill 424 in Altavia, Italy. And some words popped out of the page. And on September 13th of 1943, in the face of intense and overwhelming hostile fire, with no regard to personal life, on his own initiative, single-handedly taking down 3 machine gunners and their crew. It was over life and limb and risking beyond the call of duty that the President of the United States awards Private William Crawford the Medal of Honor. They all kind of sat there and looked at each other and were like, what? Our janitor is a Medal of Honor recipient? They thought there was no way. There was no way that Mr. Crawford was this war hero. So, of course, Monday morning, they go scurrying in, and they show him the book, and he goes, yep, that's me. And he goes on about his business as they just stand there staring. So word, of course, spread like wildfire, and things changed that day. The cadets changed that day. Instead of just walking by him and rushing, it would, good morning, Mr. Crawford, how are you? How are you, Mr. Crawford? They would pick up things that maybe they wouldn't have picked up before. Their behavior around him changed, and you know what? Mr. Crawford changed too. Now, when they said good morning, he didn't just gruff and go around. He said good morning back. He had a crooked little smile, would make eye contact, ask them how they were doing. He got to know some of them by their first name. An Air Force Academy that knows people by their first name. But that's what it was. They became Bill's cadets. Seems like a pretty simple story, and I'm sure that you can come to the conclusion on how this changed Cadet McGhee's life and how he moved forward. But in case you've dozed off at some point during my story, I'm going to go ahead and point them out for the obvious ones. Right? What Cadet McGhee learned that day was be cautious of labels. Labels will limit you. When we talk about self-fulfilling prophecies, those are real. When we talk about stereotypes, those are real. And all they are doing is putting barriers on what you and your airmen are going to be able to become. You have to put away these labels. Everyone deserves respect, regardless of rank or position. Of course, you can sit there and go, what a bunch of jerks. He's a janitor, he works hard, but let's be real. If you're at a busy setting when you were in technical school or if you've taken in-resident college classes, you may have walked by an unassuming individual not thinking about it. How many of our housekeeping staff have you said good morning to? It's not a conscious decision, but sometimes it happens. But be courteous, and everyone deserves respect. Listen to your airmen. Listen to what they have to say, to what your family members have to say, because they have a say too. Courtesy does make a difference, and it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything, and a lot of times you'll get something more out of it than you would have in the past. Take time to get to know your airmen and the people around you. And I'm not telling you to go be their friends, right? We talked about this before. How do you draw those lines? Let me make this very clear. Getting to know your people is not about being their friend. It is about leading them with grace and compassion and helping them to achieve their full potential. Anyone can be a hero. Mr. Crawford certainly didn't fit the stereotype of Johnny Bravo as he shuffled around pushing a mop. But as leaders, don't sell yourself short on the impact that you could potentially make in someone's life. It wasn't just the cadets that changed that day. Mr. Crawford changed too. And I want to take a moment and kind of pause. We have an extreme epidemic in not just our military, but in our civilian culture right now, especially when it comes to mental health and the well-being of others around us. You are currently the 1% that are serving this country. And I will actually tell you it's 0.6%, but they round up for statistical reasons, right? So you are the less than 1% who swore to serve and protect and to do what is right for our country. The problem that we're going to run into, and that you'll see when you get back to your unit, all circles around recruiting and retention. How do we refill our cup as we have people who retire or who get out after a successful tour? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you need to be worried. As senior airmen and staff sergeants, you need to be thinking about recruiting and retention. Because right now, Americans between the ages of 18 and 24, 74% of them are ineligible to serve in our military service. Whether it's personal, physical, mental, or moral reasons, will not serve. So our bucket is getting smaller. 1 in 5 young adults have some sort of diagnosed mental illness, and 63% will not seek mental health treatment. And you ask yourself, why? Why? I don't know the answer. I can't sit here and tell you if you do X, Y, and Z, it all matters. Maybe they didn't have someone to turn to. Maybe they can't afford it. But we have to acknowledge that this is going on in our society right now. And when we take away labels, we're courteous and respectful, we be someone's hero, we can help them overcome. We can get them to where they need to be. There are people with broken promises or broken processes and broken lives. So this isn't just about the military, it's about what they're doing back at home. And how do you know when you're ready to be that for someone? Well, we continue with our lesson. Leaders need to be humble. If you're in here doing it for you and what you can get out of it, you're going to be doing it wrong. It's never going to work out. Life won't always hand you what you think you deserve. Sometimes no means the next opportunity. Sometimes I work hard, I get that raise, I demand that promotion, and it just might not be your time. But that doesn't mean you stop. That doesn't mean you stop working, that doesn't mean you stop pushing. That should encourage you to continue to move harder. You have to do not pursue the glory, you have to pursue the excellence. No job is beneath a leader. If a Medal of Honor recipient can be a janitor, is there anything that's beneath you? And when you have these opportunities, you need to think about how that time is going to be spent with your airmen who are there doing it with you. This is those walk me moments. Hey, I might not have a second, but why don't you walk with me? That's 5 minutes of their life they may have not ever had with you, and it could make such an impactful difference. Pursuing excellence. Dr. Martin Luther King said, if life makes you a street sweeper, you be the best street sweeper that you possibly could be. Excellence in all we do isn't just some buzz phrase that's going on. It's in your core values. And so we have to be able to do these things and look for better ways to accomplish our goals and our missions. And sometimes we have to look to each other, we have to look down, and we have to look up. Because the greatest ideas are all around you. They're not just inside you. Today's rookie is going to be tomorrow's superstar. Are you going to be the one that gives them the courage to lead, to step up, to say, hey, I know a better way. I think I might know what's next. You just have to sit there and talk to them. Finally, life is the leadership lab. If you think walking away with this blue paper, all of a sudden, I'm a leader, I'm the best there ever is, whoop, whoop, I'm going to save the world. That's not going to happen. Because it's not in the classroom that you learn these things. It's back home. It's when you really see those struggles and those trials and those tribulations, and you're going to get 100 things right, but you're going to get one wrong. And if you think that you're never going to make an idea or make a decision and go, I could have done that better, you will make it wrong. You will make a wrong decision. And people will watch you. And they're not watching to say, ha ha, you were wrong. They're watching to see what your recovery looks like. Because in recovery is where the victory is. The recovery is where the passion comes in and where you bring people with you. And they see, as the commander said, you're going to fail. We talked about some differences today, this morning. I have a PT failure. You don't think my staff didn't look at me and go, let's see what this one's going to do. We have to be humble. You're going to stumble. You're going to have doubt. But how we move forward and what you're going to do for your airmen and the airmen that you show them that you are and what they can be is where this Air National Guard and the Air Force and the Air Force Reserve end up being the greatest force in this country. But you can't do that alone. You got to look around the table, right? We've taken positive, and you've gone through all of these conversations, and I ask you to lean on those individuals. They've been here with you, so they know what you've been through. My flight, we are so codependent, we still have a group me, and I went 5 years ago. We celebrate birthdays, we talk about different things. They've all grown in their career, but that doesn't mean we don't need help. Have that group back at home. When I'm sitting there and I blast out a text to my friends, my son hates me, God hates me, I'm at my wit's end. You need those people who go, this too shall pass. I have been there. Or sometimes I need, girl, pull up your big boy pants and get on the road. Don't let the terrorists win. Right? You need these different groups of people who are there, who are going to be with you and help you and guide you. You are not alone when it comes to this. Mr. Crawford, they asked Mr. Crawford, why did you never tell us about this? And he said it was just one day long ago. It didn't define who I was, but it certainly defined who now Colonel retired James Mushcott was. And at that moment, he changed forever. And you may all not have that moment yet, but there's going to come a moment. There's going to come an aha moment in your life that says, this is what changes. Or you're going to be that moment for someone else. Are you ready? Because that's some big shoes to fill. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be up on this stage with you all today. To be able to spend time with you, celebrate you, be this little piece of your life. And again, you can forget my name next week. That's okay. But I'm just so glad to be in this moment with you. Thank you. Congratulations.